Hello, this is the COBI USS Enterprise, the World War II aircraft carrier version in 1/300th scale. I built this about three and a half years ago, so it might have a little bit of dust on it. I apologize for that, but a fair number of viewers of this channel have been asking for me to review this, so I figured I would bring it out of cold storage and check it out. This comes with a basic low-profile stand with a printed plaque on the front. All details, in fact, are done with either prints or full color separation via the parts themselves. There were no stickers during this era. This has 2,510 pieces. Today, in 2025, as of the recording of this video, it costs about $190 US on average. The edges of the flight deck are all dotted with little anti-aircraft guns, which do use a specialized piece. And then you also have the representations of the 5-inch guns there. You can see slightly different build. They've got planes, tiny little planes. A little specialized piece was made for that. Each one is printed. You put the nose cone on and then also insert the propeller. And I'm assuming that those represent Wildcats. Not 100% accurate, but you know, it's nice to have little planes, and there's no way that you could have done something that nice or even close with traditional brick-built pieces. Again, flight deck itself, all prints. The elevators are approximated with just prints as well. You know, there's no actual detail in there. Would have been nice to get the separation of parts in there, but I guess that would be a little bit difficult to do right because of the edges, because of the rounded edges. You could do rounded edge tiles in there, but then what about the space it has to fit into? The entire superstructure had more prints on it than I expected. I like the light over here. I do apologize. I have not done all the research into the craft itself to know every single little detail of it. So I just have kind of general ideas of the things that I'm looking at. I just have to be just completely blunt and honest with you about that. I like the idea of COBI doing big ships. I wanted to get an aircraft carrier, and this was the American one, and I got it and built it for that reason. I personally am not super attached to this particular craft, but I am aware that it is a historical hero amongst craft. It was nice also to get the prints on these clear pieces. So up here you've got fire control for defense. The main bridge is right here. Flight control, I'm assuming, is off to the side there. Got little suggestions of little passageways down there as well. I like these little extensions on the sides. Those are actually partial hinge pieces that just give it a little bit of extra detail. I could have seen a little bit more texture in this space, I suppose. Here's what it looks like from the other side. Just setting this up was a little bit tricky, just because you have to get the lengths right. But once you all get it in place, it looks good. It feels good. I think I might have it angled forward just a little bit. Like I said, a little bit tricky. There we go. That's a little bit better now. But I like the end result. But I do just have to accept that the overall level of detail here is so much lower than what I would want to see on a model, you know, because it's just a completely different thing. I do have to forgive to some degree the medium, the fact that this is using brick-built pieces. It does have a fair number of specialized parts for maritime use, but most of the pieces here are just regular parts that are in the normal inventory. These larger lifeboats are an obvious exception, very specialized pieces there, but they definitely read very well. I don't know if the scale is exactly appropriate for 1/300th scale for this big ship, but you know, you definitely can see them on display. You can immediately tell, okay, that's what that's supposed to be. That feels right to me. Historians and folks who really know this boat will probably be able to tear it apart when it comes to small details. You got some prints back behind there as well. This can rotate out. The crane there can rotate out. The overall shaping of the hull mostly relies on standard pieces. And thankfully, COBI does have like a billion different shapes and sizes of slope pieces and curved pieces. Back towards the stern here, things get very stepped. In other areas, it's much more smooth. Oh yeah, you do have the nice print on the back here as well. If that will actually focus, yeah, we can get down in there. The rudder is able to move entirely too much side to side. I did not check if this is the correct number of props. I know that at least one of the aircraft carriers that I was looking at, I looked at a whole lot of pictures and did way too much just general reading about ships of World War II prior to this doing this video, but I didn't focus exclusively on CV-6 here. I know at least one of them had four bladed props, or water screws, as some people insist on saying, even though everybody knows when you talk about props and know what we're talking about. Again, the shaping here just relies on standardized pieces that COBI has in their inventory, and it was satisfying to me to put the hull together. It didn't feel at any point to me like things were getting too blocky to where it felt uncomfortable. Again, I think the level of distinction in shape, and oh boy, sorry, it's really hard to get that to focus because there's so much of just one color. Distinction in shape between segment and segment felt okay to me. Obviously, the more you focus on a single transition, the easier it is to have an issue with the lack of smoothness. But overall, when you just stand back and look at the whole thing, I feel like it gives a nice representation of a hydrodynamic shape at the very least. It might not be the most accurate, but COBI is usually pretty good at giving reverence to the source material. And I feel like they've done a pretty good job with this, even though it's not one of the most recent designs from their designers. You have a couple of anchors here as well, which do rely upon specialized parts for that. But again, you do want to see that. I think it's important from time to time. And I think that COBI strikes a good balance between focusing mostly on building with normal pieces and then putting in more recognizable and special parts when absolutely needed and when it really helps with the overall viewing experience, I think. I personally wish they had included more planes to populate the deck, including a second variation would have been nice. Just a second one of the main fuselage and wing part here. You can just continue to use the same prop and nose cone, but something to represent something heavier, like a torpedo bomber, would be nice to mix things up, and also a different mount for a suggestion of one that's actually taking off, because this is very horizontal, and I just would like to see it be able to be angled back just a little bit, so it looks more like it's actually taking off rather than just doing a flyby, or just coming up from a relatively high speed touch and go. But overall, the impact of this, I like. It's definitely too shiny. It definitely shows from any kind of distance what it is. It's not a model. It's not something that has a lot of surface level detail. It's definitely not trying to hide the fact that it's made from bricks. But the farther away you get from it, the better it looks. The one thing that you don't lose from a distance, though, is the glare of the deck, because it's all tiled off, and the print, there isn't that much print on here. The print tends to be more satin or even close to matte and breaks up some of the shininess. But yeah, you can clearly see. I mean, it's mirror-like in its finish almost. So yeah. Hopefully one day some company will figure out how to solve that for these more serious styles of models. My apologies for not being a subject matter expert. I'm just not going to pretend to be something that I am not. And the difference between someone who gets it and someone who doesn't is a lot greater than a couple of visits to Wikipedia, if you know what I mean. But I hope that this was of interest to you anyway, especially since folks were asking me to look at this set. For what it's worth, I bought this on Amazon in 2021. It was $155 at the time, but I have no record of whether that was on sale at that time. Again, as of the time of the recording of this video in early 2025, the set costs about $190 US, most places that I see it for sale, including at Amazon, and that's for 2,510 pieces. And it's a heavy, fairly solid chunk of ABS plastic, around 53 centimeters long or 3 inches short of a yard. Bye for now. Thanks for watching.